Welcome to War Thunder with Subdude. How y'all doing today? Well, we're going to take and run through the upcoming 1.79 patch. Now, if you're a tanker, you're either jonesing for this new patch or you're frothing at the mouth. And the reason you're doing one or the other is because brandy spanking new Tier 6 tanks or re engineered Tier 6 tanks are on one side, and on the other side, the frothing at the mouth is the Tier 5 premiums, and especially the Tier 5 premium for the Xbox One, which is a huge mistake on the part of Gaijin. And that's my opinion, so your opinion may vary. But here's the reason it's a mistake. You are trying to add a brand new slate of players, possibly a good percentage out of 39 million Xbox One owners. And there's going to be a large number of those who have never played War Thunder before. Now, they're not noobs. They are players who have serious gaming chops, but they've never played War Thunder before. And as people who have never played War Thunder before, they're going to be starting at Tier 5. Now, they won't be able to make a lot of advancement using their Tier 5 tank until they actually get to Tier 4, and then that Tier 5 tank will really help turbocharge their advancement. But they aren't going to know what they're doing at first. And a lot of them are going to be charging into battle on their Tier 5 Steed, XM1C or XM1GM, and they're going to get slaughtered. And they're going to get frustrated because they don't understand that a single shot kill is possible. They've been used to something like World of Tanks where you can take 5 or 6 hits before you're dead because your heavy tank can take 5 or 6 hits and the health bar just keeps dropping down. Unfortunately, there's no health bar in War Thunder. But on the flip side, they'll get multiple lives. Yeah, that isn't going to work out so well. They've got one thing in Tier 5. They might be able to buy 2 things if they want to spend $100. But most of them are going to test the waters with one. And they're going to spend $50 and they're going to get in there and they're going to play and they're going to die over and over and over. And they will become frustrated. And what's the first thing a frustrated player does? Well, aside from throwing a raging fit and screaming at everybody, they generally quit and go back to what they were doing before. So, all these Tier 5 premiums, which back when I started War Thunder with only airplanes in the mix, was an absolute no way, no how, we're never going to do it, you can't make us, it's stupid, we're not going to do it. And then tanks came out. And and then Tier 6 came out, and then Tier 5 premiums came out, which has been an absolute joke. Now, I've quit playing tanks a long time ago because even when you're talking about simulator or realistic, it's all arcade. When you get multiple lives, it's arcade. I mean, even World of Tanks doesn't play like that. But that's neither here nor there. We really would like to see realistic and simulator. Well, I would really like to see realistic and simulator go back to what it is in aircraft. One life. You get one tank, you take it out, you live or die by how you play. I realize there's going to be a lot of players that don't like that idea. Well, that's because you've been spoiled for so long. Because Gaijin was trying to get the number of players up, up, up by giving you more lives, which was a huge mistake. You know that simple little L2P, learn to play? Well, that's what it really comes down to. Learn to play. If you can't figure it out in one life, maybe you try it on the next match. And you learn the strengths and weaknesses of your tank. Now, actual combined arms. The actual combined arms of War Thunder is something that Gaijin has completely ignored with this arcade version of realistic and simulator. They should be putting 16 tankers with 16 pilots against 16 player tankers and 16 pilots. And that's how combined arms should be. And don't even get me started on how ships are going to work into this mix, because ships will not work well. And I don't care what anyone says, ships are never going to work well with tanks and aircraft. They'll work well with aircraft, but they will never work well with tanks. Let's talk about the aircraft coming. Let's start with the Americans. The Americans are getting the P-40F. Nice little plane. Flies just like the P-40E. That may change. It may get better. It may get worse. It all depends upon what they think of the flight model and their statistics. Their statistics will decide where the model goes. But it's still a nice plane. Great camo. Love the camo. Next on the American lineup is the FJ-4B, which is, in my opinion, an attacker. You may call it a fighter bomber, which it is. It's a fighter bomber. But what the pilots that have played with this plane do not understand, because they're fighter pilots, is this plane is, number one, heavier, number two, less aerodynamic, three, slower, and those three things right there overcome everything to do with a more powerful engine. Everything that the Navy had North American add into the FJ-4B is taken away by the aerodynamics of the aircraft, and that extends to the fuselage. The fuselage is bigger and beefier. The wings have permanent hard points for bombs and rockets. And please don't get me started on the bloody rocket pods, which you cannot jettison. They take a 1,000 kilometer an hour plus aircraft. I think it's right around 1,086 kilometers an hour at sea level if you've got long enough to get up to that speed. And they drop it down to just barely 700 kilometers an hour with the rocket pods. So, even in ground forces, you are going to become easy meat. You don't think so? You better think again. You will be easy meat for any fighter out there. If you're carrying those rocket pods, you're done for. If there's another fighter up, I don't care if that other fighter happens to be, oh, I don't know, a P-47. He will be more maneuverable than you and able to dive to a just as fast a speed, if not faster, from altitude. He will make you look like an idiot flying a FJ-4B. Is that a good thing? No, no it's not. It's a very, very bad thing. Now, let's talk about the Germans. Germans get two brand new Bf-110s, the F model and the G model. The F model gets a nice addition to its bomb load. It also gets a gun pack of two 20 millimeters underneath it, which is actually quite good. As a ground attacker, you can take out light targets with the machine guns and save your cannon rounds for taking aircraft apart. And believe me, it does a good job of that. Just don't try to dogfight with it. It's not a dogfighter, even at the tier that it's at. The G model is a really good bomber hunter. Now, the 37 millimeter can take apart tanks, which is good. But I would use this plane more as a bomber hunter. And as a bomber hunter, you get the interceptor air start, so climb, climb, climb. The only bad part about it is the only planes you're probably likely to run into are B-25s, Wellingtons, maybe the Italians once in a while. And that's pretty much it. Soviet planes, you might see the IL-4, DB-3, planes like that. But the G model is definitely a bomber hunter. Some will use it for ground attack, and it may do a fairly good job at ground attack. I've really never had a lot of faith in the 37 millimeter. I didn't like it when I flew the Duck with it. I went back to the 103 30 millimeter. But the G model with two MG151 20 millimeters and two MK108 30 millimeters will definitely take bombers apart like bone chickens. They will just fly to pieces. Now let's talk about the Soviets. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go back to the Germans. Fritz X bomb. Interesting bomb. Haven't played with it. but from what I've seen, Fly Daily's video looks interesting, and Gaijin came out and said, the higher you are, the better you'll be able to control it. The lower you are, the less control you'll have over the bomb. So, HE-177s, go for altitude. The higher up you are, the more accurate you can be with your bomb. Same goes, I think, with the HE-111s. I think they're going to be carrying it too. The HE-111-6. Alright, now, on to the Russians. The Russians get the IL-28SH, which basically can now carry a couple of gun pods and some rocket pods. From what I understand, because I don't have any of the IL-28s, I'm not interested in Russian aircraft. I really don't like them. But the IL-28SH carries a massive number of bombs or rockets. And that number of rockets is just absolutely stupid. They should be able to fire volleys of rockets with a single press of a key. But that's not going to happen. We know that already. It's going to be, you have to be fast on the fingers to get that many rockets out at once. By the way, when you carry the rockets, you're going to lose maneuverability and speed. You are going to become easy meat for fighters. Don't believe me? Carry the rockets and find out. The British don't get anything in the way of aviation that I saw. And the Japanese, they get their wonderful little KI whatever, light bomber. Cute plane. Don't really find it to be that useful. They should have put the, I think it's the KI-25, the Nell. At least that's the U.S. reporting name, Nell. I think that one should have been put in the game rather than this little single engine light bomber. But it's a Japanese plane, and for those of you that love Japanese planes, enjoy. The Italians get a new Reggiani 2000, the GA. For some reason, the stat card shows it as a two-person plane. However, you look inside of the x-ray and you can't find the second pilot or the second person. I think that's a faux pas on the part of Gaijin. I could be wrong, and I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. But where's the second person supposed to be? Other than that, nice little plane. Flies beautifully. Flies just like the Series 1 or the pre-Series. It's, I like it. It's the Italian P-43, second version. Or third version or fourth version. I don't know. But beautiful little plane. Love the camo. Love the handling. Excellent little plane. The French. The French get, well, three new ones. They get the Leo Late Series, which I don't see as being that big of an improvement over the Leo Early. Just an additional plane to grind through if you're grinding out your French. They also get the F4U7 Corsair. which is a French-only model of the Corsair. Um, yeah, the only real difference between it and the F4U4B is the fact that the cowling is changed and the weapons loadout is changed. Otherwise, it's the F4U4B. Same 4 20mm cannons, just an increased bomb load, or weapons load, if you will. And the French get the F-84G-26, I think. Interesting that they put it after the Beauregard. And I believe it's a 7.7 battle rating plane, which means the Beauregard and Ouragan should be dropping from their 8.0 battle rating, which was way beyond their capability. They should have been way down in the battle rating 7 a long time ago. Maybe 7.3, but definitely not 8.0. But that pretty much does the aircraft lineups. Now, I know I didn't show you any pictures, but basically I was having a little bit of a time getting all the audio and video together, especially when players on the dev server seem to think that I'm going to gain points from being on the dev server and shooting you down. No, that doesn't gain you points. It just upsets me because I'm trying to figure out how a plane flies on the dev server, and little jerks are being idiots. Well, the dev server is over. The live server is coming. And for those of you that didn't get to test anything, or were flying planes that you've been flying for weeks and months and didn't test out any new planes, well, I hope you'll get your butts handed to you. Because I know I'm going to try and hand you your butt. Also, Gaijin, drop the arcade versions of Ground Forces. It's alright to leave arcade, but stop making realistic and simulator arcade also. That's all I got to say. This is Subdude signing out. Y'all have a pleasant today, a better tomorrow, and we'll catch you in the skies, because I won't be driving a tank and ships are kind of outside of what I want to do. Bye-bye, folks.